My school had a yearly tradition around Christmas. The teachers would rally all the students of our small town school to write a letter to Santa. The teachers all collaborated and emphasized to us that they knew Santa's real address and what we wrote would be sent to him. I don't know whether my parents never religiously drilled the idea of Santa into me, or if I was a weird kid, but throughout my childhood, I never believed he was real. So I always felt this idea of entertaining this letter scheme was below me. To me, this was just a silly way for teachers to get kids excited for the holiday. In school, I was one of the rough kids. I got in fights a lot, and the majority of the other students would avoid me. Even teachers had an apprehension of being around me, scared my temperament was not limited to just kids. Hindsight helps me say this, but at the time, I thought it was everyone else who were weird. I attribute all this to my uncle and what he did. He was a brute. When my parents weren't around, which was a lot, he was the one to look after me. During those many nights, he would be rough with me, making me try beer, telling me about illicit things I was woefully ill-prepared to know, all for the delusion that he was making me tough, when in reality, it made me closed off, only able to express my emotions through violence and hate. Each year, I never participated writing the letters. When I did, I'd often just scribble insults or crude doodles. But every so often, I'd notice something. A handful of kids would come back after Christmas break, raving that Santa had brought them what they asked for. They would talk about how Santa left them a letter saying they were especially good that year and brought their wildest dreams to life. Kids from poor families got the latest game consoles. Lonely children got the pet of their dreams. One kid even claimed his mother's illness was taken away by Santa. In my pessimistic attitude, I just drummed it up to the excuse that the teachers gave the letters to their parents. Another reason I never took part in writing a letter, scared my uncle would catch wind and judge me for what I secretly desired. The pattern, though, was undeniable. Kids were getting what they wanted, and in some way, if it worked for me, the letter sent to my parents was an interesting way to slyly let on what my uncle was doing, to tip off my parents at what was going on behind their backs, all to avoid a lesson drilled into me by my uncle that snitches get stitches. Literally. A mantra which kept me quiet for far too long. One year, I grabbed a pen and ham-fisted a simple letter. I apprehensively wrote that I never wanted to see my uncle again, that I wished Santa would take him away. I finished the note off, also asking for a puppy. I was a kid. Who didn't want a puppy at that age? Something my parents never knew, since wanting a pet was girly, according to my uncle. When some of the more outspoken kids confronted me at the idea of participating in such an event I was so vocal against, I simply told them I wrote the nastiest letter to the head teacher. I told wild details, which had the kids roiling in laughter, in a way adding to my persona, a metaphor for the facade I had built up. Christmas came around. Everything happened as they did every year. A dysfunctional family dinner and the awkwardly quiet opening of thoughtless gifts. Despite the ritual not changing, I was broken. I berated myself for hoping the little hope I had left, only for it to be wasted. From then on, my life was turbulent. I had basically lost all my hope, and for many years after, I lost friends, ruined relationships, and threw away opportunities, all because of my attitude. Inside, I never felt like a bad person, but it was how I expressed myself. And then, something amazing happened. Someone saw that. My first long-lasting relationship was with someone that understood how I felt inside. She was very patient. She had to be. She stood by me through many rough years, something I commend her for. Though I didn't see it at the time, my life with her were the best years I could ask for. Sadly, it didn't last forever. Time grinded away at the relationship, my unmoving attitude keeping me still as a rock as she pushed forward in life. Eventually, the distance was too much, and she had no choice but to leave. It was her leaving that finally shook me enough. A wake-up call. I hated how I became a slave to myself, always saying I wanted to change, but never truly lifted myself from my spot and taking the necessary steps forward. Admittedly, I started seeking professional help in hopes of winning my girlfriend back. But after starting, I couldn't stop. And soon, I was doing it for myself and no one else. This is not to say it wasn't easy. Family gatherings brought everything back. I had a reputation, and I was terrified to break it. But privately, I was starting to edge out of my shell. I started with therapy sessions. Opening up about everything after keeping it inside for too long released so much tension. I found myself shedding tears, something unheard of about me, if you knew who I was. Switching personalities is hard when surrounded by people who know you as a certain way. So I took to some online apps to meet new people who didn't know me. A fresh start. To contrast my life, I chose events and activities that I made fun of throughout my early years. I met up to play video games instead of drinking beer that I secretly hated in rough bars. I spent time learning the game Magic the Gathering rather than poker nights that always ended with a little scuffle. Hell, I even tried D&D. To my surprise, I started feeling something I hadn't felt for as long as I could remember. The warm feeling of joy. I had missed that my whole life. I always knew it was in me, and I was saddened somewhat by how long it took to come out. But that was overshadowed by the bellowing feelings I now had. I used this energy. I took to amending things with people I hurt. Through social media like Facebook and Twitter, I hunted down the people I wronged throughout my school life and after. Some moved far away, so I could only message them. Often, they initially thought I was messing with them, in complete disbelief that I even contemplated showing a softer side. Some, unfortunately, didn't accept my apology, something I understood, and settled on the notion that I tried. I became a new person. That is the year when my uncle went missing. It was out of nowhere, around midwinter. He was healthy, active, and up to his usual shenanigans. so it was a shock when I received the call that he never came back from one of his nights out. Searches were made, posters were hung, and notices were sent. However, no trace was ever found. It was like he disappeared into thin air. Christmas was not long after, and things were initially quiet. An empty seat weighing heavy on the family's minds. I could see the family was not enthused, so I did something unexpected. I took the initiative. I started reading the jokes from the Christmas crackers we pulled before our meal. At first, my family was shocked, but soon joined in. I heard something I hadn't heard from my family for a long time. Genuine laughter. We played festive games afterwards, despite being full to the brim with Christmas dinner. I made a fool of myself, and I thanked my parents for not making a big deal out of it. I was a changed man. In the end of the night, we opened our presents. Most gifts were thoughtless as usual, remnants of how Christmas used to be. However, my gifts lit up the room. Each one carried a level of thoughtfulness they'd never seen before. Feelings I kept inside for so long materialized and displayed for all to see. Something they all picked up on and vowed to top the next year. The last gift was an odd-looking box with my name on it, topped with a small envelope. Some thought it was from my uncle before he disappeared, though I doubted it as he never really got me anything before. I started with the card, written in the cleanest cursive I'd ever seen. It was addressed directly to me. The message was brief, with talk of how good I was that year, and wishes that I got everything I'd asked for. I started to think it was from one of my childhood classmates that I'd reconnected with. My heart jumped to my throat when I heard a noise bounce around inside. Despite years of cultivating a hardened composure, the sounds I heard froze me for a moment. Panicked, I ripped open the package and looked down. As two adorable, bright eyes stared back at me and barked.